Hi, we are TouchTrainer. My name is Yasmin Shokes and I am the team lead.
My name is Issa and I'm the lead programmer.
My name is Mickey and I am part of the design team.
I'm Aiden, I'm doing coding and music.
And we also have our members, Jenna Moore, and possibly a new member for next quarter. And our tagline is TouchTrainer, sensing a new change in the world.
So here you'll see this is general layout of what we have going on. Right now we are still in the design phases. There's not a whole lot of preliminary research that's been done on this, so a lot of what we've been doing is our own creation. But essentially we're focusing on the intro steps of stroke rehab. So with limited motor function in their arm, we want to make sure that whatever our device is, it's easy for them to use. So that's why we have a flat platform base. That way they can either do it on their lap or on a table. And as you can see here from just some basic dimensions, it's going to be about 10 by 10 by 10 for inches. And everything that you can see here, everything in yellow, that's more of just comfort. We understand it's a very stressful time in their life, and not a whole lot of stroke patients actually do their workouts in the first place. In fact, only 30% actually do their at-home workouts, so we want to make sure this is as comfortable for them as possible. Everything in red is where they're going to actually be attaching their damaged hand. They have to physically strap their hands into it because of something called spasticity. And that basically means that their hand is stuck in one position, so they need to use their other good hand to strap themselves in. Everything that's going to be on the response side is going to be here in the green. I'll get a little bit more into that on the next slide. And then the media, we want this to be as engaging as possible. We know we're going to be playing some music, and we're hoping that we can incorporate some sort of visual sort of engagement as well. But we're also going to need some sort of control panel. So that's what you see in that blue region at the top. And then next slide, please. So, like I said, essentially the process of how they get of their interaction with the cube. They take their time strapping themselves into it, and the reason that we chose a cube shape is that it removes their eyesight from their fingers. By removing their eyesight, it helps connect something called proprioception, which is your general sense of where your body is. So if you were to close your eyes and touch your nose, that's how you're not poking your eye out. So as they when they're strapped in, actuators and little vibration motors will kick up the fingers on their damaged hand, and they have to respond to it on their good hand. And then they will be either rewarded with music, or we just give them a little air sound and they just have to keep moving on. So, next slide.
So, as we mentioned before, we're working with stroke patients, and this is something that's very new that we are doing because a lot of times stroke patients are using very mechanical types of rehabilitation, but this is problematic because the previous rehab robotics team that was a part of the senior design project realized that this is not effective unless you have trained your somatosensation. And so basically it's that when you have a stroke, it can decrease your perception of your sense in your hands. And the problem is that a lot of the time that stroke patients don't have the ability or don't really want to go back to their rehabilitation facilities because it's not really fun. And one thing that brought it close to home is that my aunt recently had a stroke. And the reason why we also decided to have a cube rather than having an app or having something that's really new age is that a lot of times stroke patients are older, and we want to make sure that it's something that doesn't make them feel technologically inefficient and doesn't make them feel like they are being overwhelmed by having to have the newest technology or having to figure out how to use a smart device. Additionally, the loss of motor function is usually from the tips of their fingers up to their wrists, so we're really making sure that we focus on that, and we're hoping that this cube idea, not only having it be portable, will actually increase their amount of somatosensation so then they can get to the actual mechanical rehabilitation to better their stroke rehabilitation.
So then for our goals and objectives, we want to design technologies that require people to sense the input through touch, so the one hand is going to receive the input, And it's going to move their fingers or it's going to vibrate their fingers. And then they have to respond with their good hand based on the sense input, which will train the somatic sensation. This will be done in the context of an engaging game. You have to keep the patients excited to do the game, so they actually do their physical therapy. And then, which we'll do with music. And then we're going to ensure patients will recover a significant amount of sensation in their hands from the game. So we plan to do testing, probably around springboard once we already have the product developed, to make sure that it actually improves their sense of like limb presence. So we subdivided our teams, making sure like we separate into roles so we can all do our tasks to make it more efficient. We have like pseudocode and music feedback, comfort and ease of use in order to make like the product really easy for like their hands to just fit in, and it has to be comfortable as well. And then mechanical design, all the actuators we have and sensors to actually move the fingers of the patients. And then we're going to do experimental testing where we will test the products, and we actually have some patients, you said, right, that we can do testing on. And then documentation, recording, and scribe. And then we have more requirements and specifications. So we listed like our main requirements on the left-hand side, and then we gave them weights for each one. So really important ones are like, it's safe, it's usable by the patients, and it challenges the limb movement and their like sense of touch. And then we rated how well our current design is doing on those things. So we have some things that we need to improve on, and then we can focus on what we give the most weight to.
So, since we are a first-year project, and this is going to be intended to be a 5-year project, we really wanted to make sure that we focused on the design and make sure that we gave it a really good starting point for not just our year, but the next year's upcoming. So, in November, we decided to have that be our time limit of having a clear concept outline. So, making sure that we understood what shape we wanted it to be, making sure that we understood what gaming aspect was, and its rehabilitative quantities. In December, which is coming up, we're going to have a fully developed SolidWorks, the pseudocode, and start stress analysis through using SolidWorks and possibly using ANSYS to make sure that, as our professor put it, basically a monkey can play with it for hours and it won't break. In January, we want to have ordered all the actuators and start all the electrical work, so starting the assembly. In March, we want to have it fully printed, 3D printed, and assembled, and have the music actually playing, so then we can develop how loud we want it to be, if we have to change the speaker location, or even if we want to change the song type. And then in April, we're going to be making more modifications in durability tests, so in case we want to make the cube smaller, since 10 by 10 is somewhat of a large cube, and also just making sure that it really is going to help the patients. That's our #1 criteria. And then in May, we want to have it fully working with the vibrations, the music, the electrical, and the data collection. And then finally, in June, we're going to be hopefully doing testing and patient trials, and then plan an outline for the next team. So then they fully know where we ended, why we did certain things, and how they can make it better. So our progress right now is that we've so far finished the pseudocode, and the feedback and music team have also started researching on electrical parts for the list, so figuring out that we're going to use a Raspberry Pi for the actual microcontroller. And also making sure that all the parts on the inside will actually fit and work. Then also the comfort, ease, and use of team have developed ways to use wrist splints as an idea of hand placement. This was something that we spent many weeks trying to figure out, since that's a big problem, is figuring out how to make sure that we're actually rehabilitating the impaired hand, and using real world examples such as wrist splints is something that we realize is a very good idea, since it's something that already works for people. And then also the mechanical design team, we're about 80% done with our SolidWorks, and each meeting we make minor adjustments such as hand placement or the electrical assembly inside. Okay, so for our budget is that right now we don't have a budget limit, as Professor Rankensmeyer was given a very large grant, and that is our source of money for the actual project. So that is another reason why we were taking a very slow time with making sure that we design a very good project so that he's willing to invest more money in it. Also, with the bill of materials still needing to be completed, with what we have looked at in terms of prices, in terms of actuators and Raspberry Pis, and buying motors and other electrical parts, right now our budget's between $500 and $1,000. And then also with use of the Beal Innovation Center will also aid in lowering the cost of assembly, since things such as laser cutting or different manufacturing processes will be free.
This is a breakdown of how many units we're all enrolled in and how many hours we've put in so far. We also are under Dr. Rankinsmeyer right now, and then we have help from a PhD student named Quinton, who also works in his labs. And then, so I have units. Aiden has 1. You have
Nikki has
3 and 3. And then Isaiah's kind of our volunteer right now, and he'll be enrolled later.
Also, we use information about stroke patients from Rancho Los Amigos, which is a rehabilitation facility in Downey. And we get a lot of information from the doctors there, and also just talking to the patients and seeing what they really need help with.
The subsystem breakdown, mechanical-wise, we're going to be focused on how the fingers are moving and how you're responding with your other hand. So on the inside, we know we need at least 6 actuators so that it can flip over. And you need 1 for each side for the thumb. And then on the other hand, we also need 6 buttons. So that's the focus of the mechanical. The user interface, they're going to be figuring out how to strap it on, take it off. That's the donning and doffing, which is talking about the hand splits. And then for code, they're definitely looking into the control system, how it's going to be interacting with them, and all the music, Raspberry Pi, and the code of the entire system. And then for testing, she said we're going to be doing a monkey test. We want it to be able to drop